What if I told you that a coin you could easily ignore might actually have a story that goes far beyond its tiny face value? Imagine finding an old South African coin in a drawer, an old collection, a box of foreign coins, or even mixed together with ordinary change. You pick it up. It looks simple. You see the South African coat of arms. You see a flower on the other side. And then you notice the date. You put it down. Then you find another. And then another one. At first, you might think they are basically the same coin. But look closer. The dates are different. The wording is different. The language surrounding the national design is different. And even though all three coins carry the same denomination, 50 cents, each one represents a different moment in the story of South African coinage. And here is the part that makes this hunt interesting. Not every old coin is rare. Not every damaged coin is an error. And not every coin you see, advertised online for hundreds or thousands of dollars, is actually worth that amount. But that does not mean you should ignore these coins. Because collectors know something most people don't. Sometimes the value of a coin is hidden in the details, the condition, the design, the mintage, the variety, the minting error, the proof version, or simply the fact that a particular coin is much harder to find in exceptional condition. So today, we are going to look closely at 3 South African 50-cent coins. In 2008, we will examine the story behind each date, the design, the language, the national symbols, the reported mintages, the condition, the possible varieties and errors, and the real-world value that collectors may be interested in. And most importantly, we are going to separate the real information from the exaggerated stories that often circulate online. So before you spend, sell, clean, or throw away an old South African 50-cent coin, take a few seconds and look at it carefully. Because once you understand what you are looking at, that little coin suddenly becomes much more interesting. Understanding the South African 50 cent. Before we talk about the individual years, let's understand the coin itself. The South African 50 cent is a circulation denomination of the South African rand. The coins from this period are relatively small. The standard 2005, 2006, and 2008 examples are listed as bronze-plated steel, weighing about 5 grams and measuring approximately 22 millimeters across. They have a reeded edge and a round shape. That may sound like ordinary technical information, but for coin collectors, technical information is extremely important. Why? Because a coin is not identified by its date alone. If someone shows you a 2008 South African 50 cent and asks, "Is this rare?" the first thing you need to know is exactly what type of 50 cent it is. Now let's begin with the first coin, the 2005 South African 50 cents. This is an important starting point because the 2005 coin has its own catalog design. The coin is listed as KM294. It is a standard circulation coin made from bronze-plated steel. It weighs about 5 grams and measures approximately 22 millimeters in diameter. But the most interesting thing is what appears around the coat of arms. The 2005 coin uses the Xhosa wording, uMzantsi Afrika. This is the name of South Africa in Xhosa, and right beside it is the date. So if you have a 2005 example, you are not simply holding an old 50 cent. You are holding a coin that represents South Africa through the Xhosa language. This is one of the reasons date collecting can become so interesting. A person who has never studied South African coins may look at 3 different coins and think, they all look the same. But a collector may immediately notice, this one says uMzantsi Afrika, this one says iNingizimu Afrika, and another one says Afurika Tshipembe. Those are not random words. They represent different official languages of South Africa. The catalog information for these coins notes that South African coinage of this period used the country's 11 official languages across the series. That means the coin becomes more than money. It becomes a lesson in language. The 2005 mintage. Now let's talk about something every serious collector wants to know. How many were made? The reported mintage for the regular 2005 South African 50 cent is approximately 26,608,000 pieces. That is more than 26 million coins. And this number immediately tells us something important. The ordinary 2005 coin should not automatically be described as extremely rare. More than 26 million examples were reportedly produced. That is a significant number. So if you find one in your pocket or old coin box, you should not immediately assume you have discovered a fortune. But wait, that does not mean you should ignore it. Because mintage is only one part of the story. Think about it this way. Imagine two coins were produced in millions. One coin was heavily circulated for years. The other was placed into a collection shortly after, minting and remained in excellent condition. Those two coins may look very different today. The first might have scratches, wear, dull surfaces, and damaged edges. The second might still have crisp details and attractive original surfaces. Collectors care about that difference, and this is where condition becomes important. What to look for on a 2005 coin? If you have the 2005 50 cent, start by looking at the date. Do not rush. Look at each number. Is the 2 properly formed? Does the 0 look normal? Does the 5 have the correct shape? Then move your attention toward the coat of arms. Look at the shield. Look at the figures. Look at the animals. Look at the weapons. Look at the motto. And then look at the lettering. The words uMzantsi Afrika should be examined carefully. Why? Because collectors sometimes discover varieties or errors by studying lettering. A genuine double letter can be interesting. A double digit can be interesting. An unusual die feature can be interesting. But this is where you have to be careful. A scratch is not automatically a mint error. A dent is not automatically a mint error. A damaged rim is not automatically a mint error. A dirty surface is not automatically a mint error. A coin that has been hit by another coin is not automatically a mint error. The key question is, did the unusual feature happen during the minting process, or did it happen after the coin entered circulation? That difference can completely change the significance of the coin. The reverse side of the 2005 coin. Now turn the 2005 coin over. You should see the Strelitzia flower. This flower is one of the most recognizable natural symbols on this coin series. The denomination appears as 50C, and the initials LL identify designer Linda Lautriette on the catalogued type. Arthur Sutherland is listed as the engraver associated with the coat of arms side. These tiny initials are easy to overlook. Most people never even notice them. But collectors do, and this is another reason to use magnification when studying coins. A small magnifying glass can reveal details that are nearly invisible to the naked eye. You may suddenly notice lettering, designer initials, tiny lines, surface characteristics, or damage that you previously thought was part of the design. Realistic value of the 2005 coin. Now we come to the question everyone wants answered. How much is the 2005 coin worth? For an ordinary circulated example, don't expect a huge fortune. Namista's current indicative figures for the regular 2005 issue range from around $0.11 in good condition up to about $1.10 in uncirculated condition. These are only indicative collector market figures, not guaranteed selling prices. That means a normal circulated 2005 50 cent is generally a modest value collectible, but condition can still matter. And special versions can be different. The catalog also lists a proof issue with a reported mintage of 1944 pieces. Now that is a very different number. 1944 is dramatically smaller than 26.6 million. So if you discover that your coin is not a normal circulation strike but a genuine proof example, that becomes a much more interesting situation. This is why identification matters. Someone might have a 2005 50 cent and assume every example is identical, but collectors know there can be different versions. Now we move to the second coin, the 2006 South African 50 cents. This coin is fascinating because the language changes. Instead of uMzantsi Afrika, the coin carries iNingizimu Afrika. That is the Zulu name for South Africa. The coin is catalogued as KM489. It is also bronze-plated steel. It weighs approximately 5 grams. It measures approximately 22 millimeters, and it has a reeded edge. At first glance, it may look almost identical to the 2005 coin. The coat of arms is there. The motto is there. The flower is there. The denomination is there. But the language tells you that you are looking at a different date and type. This is the kind of small detail that makes date collecting addictive. Imagine having a 2005 and a 2006 coin side by side. Now look at the wording. Turn 5. uMzantsi Afrika. 2006. iNingizimu Afrika. You have just seen South African history represented through two different languages on two coins that are almost identical in size and material. That is something most people would never notice. The 2006 mintage. The reported regular mintage for the 2006 South African 50 cent is approximately 40,128,000 pieces. That is even higher than the reported 2005 production. Again, this means the normal 2006 coin should not automatically be called rare. Millions of examples were produced. But there is another interesting number. The proof issue is listed with a reported mintage of 1,637 pieces. Now compare 40 million regular coins, only 1,637 reported proof pieces. That is a huge difference. This is exactly why collectors need to know the difference between a circulation, strike, and a proof. A proof coin is produced specifically with collector presentation in mind. It often has sharper details and specially prepared surfaces. So if someone finds a beautiful 2006 coin, they should not immediately assume it is proof. It needs to be identified correctly. How to recognize a coin worth investigating. Let's imagine you have a 2006 coin. It looks unusually sharp. The details seem extremely crisp. The surfaces appear different from an ordinary coin. What should you do? First, don't clean it. Second, don't polish it. Third, don't rub it with a cloth. Fourth, don't use chemicals. Instead, take clear photographs. Photograph the front. Photograph the back. Photograph the edge. Take close-up photographs of the date. Take close-up photographs of unusual areas. Then compare the coin with trusted references. If you believe you have a proof or a genuine error, professional authentication can be worth considering. Why? Because the internet is full of false claims. Someone can see a strange mark and call it an error. Another person can see a shiny coin and call it proof. Another person can see an old date and call it rare. But collecting requires evidence. The meaning behind the language. Now let's pause the value discussion for a moment, because there is something much more important about these coins. Language. South Africa recognizes 11 official languages. The circulation coin series used different language versions of the country's name. The catalog references for these coins list examples including Afrikaans, English Sesotho, Sepedi Tswana Xhosa Zulu, and Ndebele Venda Siswati and Tsonga. This means the words on a coin can tell you something about the country itself. The 2005 50 cent shows the Xhosa form. The 2006 shows the Zulu form. The 2008 shows the Venda form. 3 dates. 3 languages. 1 country. 1 denomination. That is an incredible collecting story. And this is why coin collecting is not only about money, it can also be about culture, history, language, art, politics, geography, and national identity. Now we come to our third coin, the 2008 South African 50 cents. This is the coin shown in the photograph you provided. The wording on the coin is Afurika Tshipembe. This is the Venda language form of South Africa. The date is 2008. The coin is catalogued as CAM 443. Like the earlier examples, it is a standard circulation coin made of bronze-plated steel, weighing about 5 grams and measuring about 22 millimeters. But now look at the reported mintage. This is where the story changes dramatically. The reported regular mintage for 2008 is approximately 141,312,000 pieces. That is a massive production number, more than 141 million regular coins. So if someone sees the 2008 date and immediately says, "This must be extremely rare," the mintage data does not support that conclusion for the ordinary circulation issue. In fact, among these 3 dates, 2008 has by far the largest reported regular mintage. But once again, that does not mean every 2008 coin is worthless. It means we need to look at the specific example. The 2008 coin in your picture. Now let's focus specifically on the coin you showed. The visible side has the South African national coat of arms. At the top is, on the right side is, Afurika Tshipembe, and at the bottom is, ALES. The motto appears beneath the coat of arms. The design is enclosed within the nonagon. This matches the catalog 2008 standard circulation type. The other side carries the Strelitzia flower and the denomination 50C. The designer initials LL are also associated with the flower side. So this is not a 2 rand. It is a South African 50 cent, and identifying that correctly is the first step toward understanding its value. Why the 2008 coin can still be interesting. You might be thinking, if more than 141 million were made, why should I care? Because rarity is not the only reason to collect a coin. Think about a famous photograph. Millions of people may have seen it. But an original photograph with a special history can still be interesting. Coins can work the same way. The ordinary 2008 50-cent may be common, but a particular example might be extremely well preserved, a proof from a special set, a genuine mint error, or an unusual variety, and those differences are what collectors search for. The hunt is not find any 2008 coin and become rich. The hunt is find out whether this particular 2008 coin is different from the millions of normal examples. That is a much more realistic and exciting way to collect. The 2008 value. For the normal 2008 circulation coin, current numista indicative values are modest. The listed figures run from around 0.22 in good condition to about 120 in uncirculated condition, with a separate BU set indication around 2 sir. Proof issue is listed with a reported mintage of 563 pieces. These are indicative figures, not guaranteed sale prices. Notice something. The regular mintage is over 141 million. The proof mintage is only 1,563. This is exactly why the word proof matters. If you have a normal circulated 2008 coin, it is generally not a high-value rarity. But if you somehow have a genuine proof version, you may have a much more collectible piece. That is why collectors examine everything. Comparing the 3 coins. Now put all 3 dates together. The differences become much more interesting. The 2005 coin uses uMzantsi Afrika. The 2006 coin uses iNingizimu Afrika. The 2008 coin uses Afurika Tshipembe. These represent Xhosa, Zulu, and Venda language forms respectively. Now compare the reported regular mintages. Turn 5, 26,608,000, 2006, 41,128,000, 2008, 141,312,000. That means the 2008 regular issue had a much larger reported production than either 2005 or 2006. So if you are looking at these 3 coins from a rarity perspective, 2008 is not the date you should automatically call rare, but rarity is only one part of collecting. The 2005 and 2006 dates are interesting because their reported regular mintages are much smaller than 2008, and the proof figures are dramatically smaller still. That is where the collector's investigation begins. What makes a coin truly rare? Let's answer one of the biggest questions in coin collecting. What actually makes a coin rare? There are several possibilities. One is a low mintage. If only a small number were produced, that can make a coin difficult to find. Another is low survival. Maybe many coins were produced, but most were lost, destroyed, melted, or heavily damaged. Another factor is condition. A coin may be common in circulated condition, but very difficult to find in pristine condition. Another factor is a variety. A particular die variety may be much less common than the standard type. Another factor is a mint error. A coin struck incorrectly can sometimes become highly collectible. And another factor is demand. Even if a coin is technically scarce, collectors must actually want it. This is why value is complicated. Rarity alone does not guarantee a huge price. Demand alone does not create rarity, and age alone does not make a coin valuable. Mint errors, what should you look for? Now let's talk about errors. This is one of the most exciting areas for collectors. Imagine a coin that was supposed to be struck normally, but something went wrong. Maybe the die shifted. Maybe the planche was wrong. Maybe the coin was struck more than once. Maybe the strike was off-center. Maybe there was a serious die problem. Those situations can create genuine mint errors. But here is the warning. Do not confuse damage with an error. Suppose your 2008 coin has a deep scratch across the coat of arms. That does not automatically mean it is a mint error. If the scratch happened after the coin was released, it is simply damage. Suppose the edge is bent. Again, that may be post-mint damage. Suppose the coin has a strange dark patch. That can be environmental damage, chemical exposure, or surface change. A real error should be supported by the physical characteristics of the striking process. That is why serious collectors compare examples and seek expert opinions. Why you should never clean these coins. This is one of the most important pieces of advice in the entire video. If you find an old coin and think it might be valuable, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not use toothpaste. Do not use metal polish. Do not use vinegar. Do not scrape it. Do not try to remove dark spots. Why? Because cleaning can permanently change the coin's original surface. A collector would rather see an original, naturally aged coin than a coin that has been aggressively polished. A shiny coin is not automatically a valuable coin. In fact, an artificially polished coin can be less desirable than a naturally preserved example. So if you find an unusual 2005, 2006, or 2008 50-cent, leave it alone. Photograph it, research it, and get expert advice if necessary.